Welcome to Legacy Conversations, a channel where we preserve military memories and history.
Hello, Internet. Well, I'm going to steal Koos's line. I'm very excited. And not only am I excited, I'm privileged. I'm speaking to a fellow flight engineer, and it's been ages since I've had that honor. Yes, South African Air Force flight engineer. Phillip, if I'm correct, was one of two brothers who were both flight engineers in the SAAF. But I'm going to leave you, Phillip, you tell us all the stories. Please. Welcome here. It's great of you to have come and joined us here at Legacy Conversations.
I've been asked by many people how I can assist the channel. Now, there are various ways. For now, I want to speak about the Patreons. You can join the Patreons where you support us by donating $5 a month. If you want to do more than $5, of course, you're welcome. But $5 is the minimum. And it's completely free in the sense that if you don't want to carry on with it, you just cancel your subscription and then the $5 will not be deducted from you anymore. Now, what you get out of it from the Patreons is you see many of the videos you see first. And you have direct access to me. So if you want to talk to me or you have ideas or you want to just meet somebody who I have access to, normally through the patrons, we will definitely bend backwards to assist. So it's a good cause because we need the money to pay for the internet, for equipment, for fuel. When I was in South Africa recently, we drove almost 10,000 kilometers to record all the different museums and aircraft and people and armored vehicles and things like that. And the Patreons are the one who is paying for the fuel by making their donations. Now, there's 100,000 people a month who come to Legacy. They watch on average 50,000 hours, between 25 and 34,000 hours a month for videos. And out of that 100,000, only 50 people, as I speak here now, which is January 2025, is willing to give us $5. So if you have $5, please go to the link. You can find it everywhere underneath videos. You can also find it under this video. Go to Patreon, sign up, and let me see you in the Patreons. Thank you for listening, and let's get back to the video.
Baie dankie, Phillip. All yours.
Thanks, Fossie. Baie dankie. It's an honor for me to talk to you, especially after speaking earlier this week and just catching up a bit off the camera. So it was amazing. And the pictures that you sent me of your flight engineers course, I knew most of the guys there, and I actually forwarded it to one of my friends since before you guys got onto flight engineers course, Joe Boddington, who, of course, you know, we are still very good friends, and we speak on a weekly basis. So yeah, thank you for this. Well, I was in Vereniging Technical High School where I did grade 12 or matric that time. And straight after that, actually in the last sort of 2 months, my elder brother Dries, would you know, he'd passed away. He invited me to come and stay with him at Bloemspruit Air Force Base for a week. And in that week, he organized a flight for me with James Adlong, a captain at that time. I'm quite sure you remember him. And once I did that flight in a LO, which we slung something, a windmill. We actually slung a windmill onto its feet after the guys have assembled it. And after that, I knew, yeah, I like these little draadkarre. I want to come and work on them. And that's how I joined the SAAF. So I joined in 1981, directly after school. Went to Tentendorp for selection. And after that, I said, yeah, I'm not too bad. I can come and work on LOs. Never having in mind that I want to be a flight engineer because I didn't even know what a flight engineer was, for that matter. So I did my school blocks in 3, in 4, and in 5 in the Air Force at Verwoerdburg Technical College. And after that, shortly after the last school block, I qualified as a fitter. And we weren't called engineers those times, although we're called engineers now. After qualified as a fitter, I did the selection on the flight engineers course, got it, and we were 12. We were known as the Pink Panthers, and I was on course with quite a flippin' great bunch of guys. Thinking of Ian Mercer that passed away, and James Lidder that passed away, Tat Bosman that passed away. I was also with Anton Verhagen, Alan Skutte, Henny Viljoen. It was quite a bunch of flippin' nice guys. Tommy Russell. I actually saw him the other day. It's amazing how life has treated us all differently. And then in 19, I actually got my flight, your logbook. I actually took my logbook out of the cupboard and dusted it off and went through some tours and everything that we did in the Air Force, and Dangwa and Rundu. And because I was at 87 flight school, a lot of our flying there was concentrated about training. So we did a lot of mountain training and gunnery, and always went on the training courses because that was what expected from you when you were a flight engineer at 87. And then, of course, bush tours, which was quite a lot. So on Alouettes, I checked this afternoon, I did 8 Alouette flight engineers courses when I was in the Air Force, and also did 9 Puma flight engineers courses before I left the SAAF. So I joined in 81, 5th of January 1981, and I left at the 8th of March 1989. By that time, the war was coming down, and it was not very exciting to be there anymore for me in the Air Force in any case. One of the reasons why I wanted to become a flight engineer, some of my earliest memories in the SAAF was when the guys that they're training, you guys that was before us, you and Joe and all those guys, Lindsay, when you went away on your gunnery phase of the engineers course, I always thought to myself, yes, I want to go with, I want to do that. So in the end, that was one of the reasons, and doing the cargo slinging and the hoisting training as well. That was very exciting for me, and we did a lot of mountain flying because of the training of the pilots and the flight engineers, the UTs, the COs and the UTs that had to go through all that training. So I went to, can you remember the places where you went to? Drakensville, and what else was the other one? Dragon Peaks, and the old one was? Bergwil. Yeah, we went there. Yeah. So it was quite nice being a happy on 87 and doing refueling and standing guard at the LOS at night. Seeing other guys having the training and knowing that you, in a few years' time, it will be your turn if you're lucky enough to be chosen. And yeah, as I said, lucky enough, I was chosen. So most of my Air Force career I spent on training in squadrons, like 87 helicopter flight school. And then I went to 17 squadron in Swartkops for just for about 9 months. And then the guys pulled me up to 19 squadron, which was still at Swartkops at the top hangar. And I became a flight engineer there. And that was also a training squadron. So we did a lot of training, sort of same as the LO, where you had to train pilots, new pilots and new flight engineers, and mountain flying and night flying and slope landings and all of the above. So that was quite nice being on training squadrons, because you always stayed sharp, with the VAs in the cockpit and all that type of things. It became second nature. You sort of could do it in your sleep after a while. And also at 19 Squadron, I was very fortunate to work with a few real flippin' big eisters in the Air Force at that time, like Kenny van Straten, and it was just such a lot of great guys that you could just plug into. Vic Rademan, that you can plug into and say, Vic was quite good with the engine settings, and I would say, hey, Vic, I'm having this problem, and he would say, okay, let me show you, and then they would show you, so that once you're in a bush there, you've got the confidence, because the guys doesn't just show you the bookwork, they show you the experience, where you should do this and where you should do that. And like you said, yeah, we were 2 brothers, Dries and myself. Dries unfortunately passed away. And that was a big shock for me, because we had the same interest in life. We both loved helicopters. We loved Jesus, because we were both born again Christians. We loved our families. We loved being in the SAAF. It was at that time, it was quite a great time. And it was also like in 87 when I did my UT course, he was one of my instructors, and even coming up to 19th Squadron in Pretoria, he was also my instructor. So people think that it was easier, but I think it was harder on me than on anybody else, because I was his brother, and you know, you can't live in the shadow. You would have to be your own man. And it was quite an honor to work with people like that. I remember the things we did in a tea room at 19th Squadron. How we pest each other and lighten up. When a guy was reading his paper, he would light up his paper and see what happened. Everybody was having a laugh. I remember old Patches Kennard was one of the naughty oaks there. Yeah, so that is, as far as my Air Force career, that was just an amazing part of my life. I loved it, but in 89, when things started dwindling down, I thought to myself, I don't want to be in a peaceful Air Force. I loved the action, you know, like the Bush War. There was action and people shot at you and you shot at people, and going to the bar, landing at Ondangwa, sorting out your machine, armorer sort out the gun or the cannon, and avionics was there. And then going to the bar without even showering, someone in your flying overall, you know, and having a few toots there with the guys and talking about the day and mourn people that has died. And then next day it's back to normal, fly again, and being on the spoor of the Oaks with the Kufut and all those guys. It was just amazing times. So that is what I can tell you about my Air Force time. The last year I was not at home for 9 months of the year. And that started taking its toll on my family. So myself, my wife sat down and said, okay, if this is going to be what's going to happen, then it's not going to work out. So family first. Went out of the Air Force and started working at the ceramic floor tile plant, believe it or not, which I knew nothing about. But I studied ceramics and I studied production, got my diploma, and started making a new life, being with the family and raising kids, and missing the guys in the Air Force because, as you know, there was a brotherhood. I speak to a lot of guys, and this flight engineer group that we have, it's such good reminding of days that gone past. And you had your birthday the other day. Congratulations. And it's nice to see guys, you know, hey, have a nice one, Fossey, happy birthday. People remember each other, and we all grew older in the meantime, but still there's this camaraderie that I don't think will ever go away, because you went through things. You lost friends, lost flight engineer friends, lost pilot friends, and in life you lose friends. And that is just the way that life is. But it's great to know that there's a brotherhood amongst people. And that I think that you being a flight engineer yourself as well, we are actually honored to be part of that group.
Indeed, we are honored. I'm sitting here with goose flesh because that word camaraderie means something to us, to vets, to people who served. And it's a simple definition of camaraderie is the bond between people that may never, ever have known each other apart from the fact that they covered each other's backs under pressure.
Yeah.
And civvies cannot understand that. And you mentioned the groups. That's why I went out looking. You mentioned the other day when we spoke, ek kan nog goed Afrikaans praat. Ja.
Dis reg.
It wasn't the Afrikaans that I missed so much living abroad. It was speaking to a brother, and the camaraderie built up will never go away. It cannot go away.
Yeah.
But you mentioned ceramics. So I know you're back in aviation. How long have you been back in aviation? And tell me, how did you get back into aviation? Please.
Well, after 89, I left, and I heard about a job that they're going to build a big factory making ceramic tiles, floor tiles. Now, at that time in 89, 90, there was were two places that did it in South Africa, and we imported an entire factory from the ground down upwards from Italy. And I was involved firstly in the drawing because I did my N5 technical drawing things. I was first involved in drawing the factory and making lots and lots of drawings. And then the guy said, no, they want a production superintendent. So it sounded very important to me. So I said, no, I want to be one of those. And after a while, I thought, okay, I want to be the plant manager. So I asked my plant manager then, what do I need to do to give you your job? So I said, no, you have to have some sort of studies in production or operations management, as they call it nowadays. And I did it. And I really enjoyed it. From there, we moved to Harrismith in the Free State, which was a beautiful little town. We raised the kids there, which was a brilliant idea because it's a small little town morals. Your kids were safe, you were safe. We slept a lot of nights with the garage door open because we forgot about it and nothing vanished out of the garage, type of thing. No bicycles, nothing was stolen. And after our time was over there, we moved back to Roodepoort. And when I was in Roodepoort, Starlight Aviation contacted me. And I say, no, then I was a flight engineer at the Air Force in Pumas. They've got Pumas. They're looking for flight engineers. So I said, guys, my license has expired. I mean, I was a Air Force flight engineer. I was never been a civil. So no, don't worry. You can come and work on the floor, get up to speed again with the Pumas, and do your course with the late damn, he died the other day. Lucas Potgieter, legend in aviation. And I said, okay, I'll come and look. Went there for the first time, and it was not there. I just didn't feel it, And then Dries was there, and he became the CEO of the company, of the maintenance part. And he says, no, man, come and visit me again. And I was there, and they gave me a flip there in a Puma. And before the wheels was off the ground, I knew this was something I wanted to do again. And it's amazing the muscle memory that came back like in 2 days. I was comfortable in a cockpit again, the VAs and everything. I was there. And so I stayed with Starlight Aviation, I think 9 years. And so one day I was in Kosovo for them, and the Human Resources Department phoned, and they say, no, they've got a course for 4 engineers that want to go on to the Bell 412. So I said, okay, it sounds interesting to me. Actually, while I was in Kosovo, I went to the American DFAC, and as I walked towards it, I saw a 412 taking off. And I thought to myself, yes, I would like to work on that thing. It looks interesting. Being American machine, because I only worked on French machines in Alice and Pumas. And there the call came. We went to a course on the 412 in Dallas, Fort Worth. Myself, Henny Stein, who was also a flight engineer in the Air Force, Civvy, Andy Harris, and another guy that was in the Air Force but not a flight engineer, Ati Venter. So we went to Fort Dallas for the month, and quite interesting. I got sick there. Yes, I was sick there, but I passed the course at least. And coming back, worked for Starlight on the 412, went all over the place, which was quite nice experiences. And then the contract ended with the 412s. So they were leasing the 412s from Abu Dhabi Aviation. And the guy contacted me that was working for a company in Uganda, Kampala Executive Aviation. Now that was interesting. Went to Kampala. I've never been there. And I said, no, I'm not going to work in Kampala. I said, okay, where am I going to work? Now I'm going to work in Central African Republic. I said, okay, where's that? So they flew us out with a caravan from Entebbe to a place in the flippin' center of Central African Republic with the name of OBO. And there we were doing a medical standby and evacuation for the US Special Forces that was looking for the then president that was killing his own people. I just cannot remember his name. And that was quite interesting. I did some introductory course on NVG just before I left the SAAF. And there we were doing just night flying. We did not do day flying. So we did lots and lots of NVG flying there. And it was just the pilot, the co-pilot, and the engineer in the camp with 2 cooks and 2 cleaners. And that was it. Generator for power. And if the generator is on, you've got internet and aircon. And if the generator is off, you don't have aircon and internet. So it was quite a challenging time, but it was the flying was amazing. And I can say it now because I don't work with him anymore. That's not all we did. So the things that we did there was actually more SAAF orientated flying than what we actually were supposed to do. But it was very interesting. We saved quite a few lives. We went quite a few tight spots, and that's actually where I did some hoisting in a SAAF. But and that on that contract I did 200 live hoistings, of which 190 was under NVG, and the longest one was 200 foot at night NVG. The pilot didn't have any references, so obviously I was chatting like a little budgie in the back of that aircraft, keeping it in place and getting guys out of some difficult situations. So that was quite interesting. I really enjoyed it. So that one stopped, that contract stopped after about 18 months, which was also about enough for me. So I went, the guys at Ultimate Heli in South Africa, where I am now, contacted me and they said, no, they want a guy that's got flying experience, cargo sling, hoisting, and the rest, you know. So in the Air Force, you landed on a strike craft, so that I also knew that they needed some offshore stuff and all that. And that's where I got involved in Ultimate Heli, doing the South Pole trips to Antarctica once a year, over December, January, and February, actually late November. And then Marion Island and Gough Island, which we also serve on this contract. We also got some other contracts which I am not at the liberty to discuss, but yeah, that's not the only one. But the main contract which I'm involved now, and which I've involved now for four times. I've been to Antarctica 4 times, Marion 5, and Gough 4. So that's where I'm at now. And I will most probably, this might probably my last Marion one. And then I'll be one of the other contracts. So at the moment, that's where I'm at Ultimate Heli. The headquarters is in Midrand in Johannesburg. They've got a flipping amazing place there. They call it the heliport, the only one in South Africa as far as I know. And it's a very, very nice place. State-of-the-art place with some good guys working there.
Phillip, this obviously leads us into the next part of this chat, which is going to be sharing some of your experiences. Now, short little intro here. I had my name on an Antarctica trip, but I think I was about 375 on the list. They came around. I was based at Port Elizabeth those days. They came around and they said this was as ground crew, and they asked, would you want to go? And I said, yes, I want to go. And that's all I ever got to hear or to use the term Antarctica. So I am extremely keen to quiz you and to hear your stories about this. So for now, we're going to say, go and make yourself a flask of coffee. And when you come back, you can cancel the pause and hit play again. And then Phillip is going to entertain us with that part of the story. And remember, your folk is working on a current contract, so there may be things that he can't share, but there are lots and lots of visuals that he may share. So, Phillip, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed this far, and looking forward to the next part of this chat. Hello, Internet. Yes, excited. Yeah, that I am. Just before you saw the little video that has joined this clip, these two, part one and part two of this video, I was getting excited about Antarctica and about Philip telling us about the Antarctica trips. What excited me so much is when I saw all the visuals, but it took quite a while for Philip to obtain permission to use this. And I want to note here that his company has provided us permission to use the material. So I'm not going to say much more. I'm going to say, Philip, please reintroduce yourself quickly. You're the crew chief. You are the main organizer, and when you receive that phone call, when the crew is assembled, where do you start preparing for this Antarctica trip, and how long does it take before you get there? And I've spoken enough. Thank you again profusely for joining us. Dankie Philip, gesels.
Hi there. Yes, as Fossie has just said, my name is Phillip van Coller. Been in the SAAF, left the SAAF for a few years, military for a few years, and then joined civil aviation companies after doing the license, the civilian license. As far as your question is concerned, Fossie, about how it works, is we go to Antarctica once a year, we go to Marion Island once a year, and we go to to Gough Island once a year. The helicopter contingent is two Bell 412 EPs, quite strong machines with Pratt & Whitney motors in them, gas turbines, and usually the trip preparation starts around about a month before we sail from Cape Town. The trip to Antarctica, depending on the sea state and the winds, prevailing winds, are usually the trip is about 14 to 15, even 17 days. Because the closer you get to Antarctica, the more icebergs around, and obviously the ship starts sailing slower, and there's a constant lookout from the captain and his crew to not hit an iceberg and become a Titanic type of thing. It is an icebreaker, but obviously still, if she goes into an iceberg that is big, she will definitely come short. So what we do in the preparation stage? Obviously, the two aircraft must be serviced and clear for at least 100 hours of flying, so that we don't have to do big maintenance on the ship. Although the ship is a approved AMO, temporary AMO, when we get onto the ship, CIA has inspected and everything is there that must be there, and it's quite a comprehensive audit, because they want everything to be safe, of course, as the CIA is. So on the day that we go onto the ship, all our ground equipment is being loaded onto the ship, hoisted, and by the crane on the ship, and then packed into the hangar. And everybody assembled at the hangar the morning early, and we fly onto the ship first to one. When we land on the ship, like our old SAAF days, we fold the blades, because the hangar is not wide enough to have both aircraft with unfolded blades. So we fold the blades, push it in, and then of course we secure it to the hangar floor with quite a lot of 5-ton tie-down straps. Reason for that being is we don't want those helicopters to start running around inside the hangar when we hit the roaring 40s. So within the first 2 days, every 4 hours, one of the crew members are tasked to go and have a look if the helicopters are still secure, because those belts stretch a bit, even though they are very strong. And from there on, we actually do nothing on the ship. There's no work to be done, as all the preparation has been done. All our tools are there, ground equipment, compressors, and compressor washers, kits, and all that. And then that's actually, it can become very boring, because for 14 days you do literally nothing. The food is excellent, so all of us pick up weight on the first 2 weeks, because you eat like a dog, because your body says to you, you must eat, you're going to die. Which, of course, it's not true, but if your mind says, if your body tells your mind that he's hungry, you go there. So, for me, to try and avoid that, I take my bicycle with on the ship. So I take a trainer on the ship, put the bicycle on the trainer, secure it to the hangar floor, and every day I spin like for 45 minutes to an hour, just to work off some fat that I accrue because of all the nice food. Internet on a ship is not good, but it looks like we have secured a nice internet connection this time. So it will be actually be great to take some videos of the Marion trip, and I can also forward that to you should you be interested. Once we get to the ice shelf, and I did put some pictures on the ice shelf. I sent some pictures of the ice shelf to you. Yeah, there's a picture of me sitting on the deck in my recliner, sitting on the deck having a nice cup of coffee, and you can see the ice shelf in the back. So once we get there, we usually are taught, or we are told that we can expect to be there in say 12 hours, and then they have a countdown 6 hours, 3 hours, and then the last hour, of course, everybody's outside and very excited to see the South Pole. So once we are there, the packs list are being drawn up. So obviously we work about weights, and so that we don't load too much weight in the aircraft, and then the packs are being flown off 8 at a time to the South Pole base. Now the South Pole base is a scientific base, which is quite a big base. We were one of the first members. I think we were the second member to sign the contract that we will have a base there, and we'll look out and all that. Interesting fact is, while we are there, we actually also act as search and rescue for all the bases in the vicinity that obviously we can reach with our fuel reserves. And 2 of the bases is Troll bases, and the other one is Neumayer. It's a German base. We also have some, once we are there and everything is set up in the base, where there's a hangar for also 2 aircraft. So we go onto into the hangar, again, blades folded. We don't have to secure it because the hangar the base is very secure and stable. Once everything is good, we sometimes take some of the management part of a DEA, and we go to Neumayer base or the Troll base, and for some introductions and just normal sort of let's chat what's going on and what do you expect from us and when do you think something will happen, do you have any people in the field, and that type of things. We also do, sometimes they go with skidoos, especially the Germans, and we offload some fuel for them, so that if they reach a point that they need to refuel, there are fuel drums for them, and we supply that service to them as well. On the base itself, it consists of 3 buildings. The first one is mostly the hangar part. There's also a basic gym on that in that part, and then there's a mechanical and electrical workshop, as well as the generators are situated in that part. Of course, there's no electricity there, so generators are quite important, because without them, the base is just going to freeze over. So they've got 3 or 4 generators that runs as required, and then every time that one of them comes to a scheduled maintenance, there's a mechanic that stays there, a diesel mechanic that stays there for a year with the team, and then he services that one, the D1, and so it goes on. So it's the first one is one, then the second one, and then the third one, and then it's sort of a rollover, whichever one needs the service. What is else in the base is that all the food and all the diesel and all the toilet paper and all the washing dishes and everything must get to the base from the ship. So on the ship, there's a big crane on the front part of the ship. The big crane offload all of the previous mentioned stuff onto the ice shelf. Then there is a cat train of caterpillars and some sleighs. They put it on that, and then they tackle that route, believe it or not, to the base. They drive via GPS that has been previously done for years and years and years, and the drivers that's there they are very good guys, and they know the route and they know the ins and outs, where to go, where not to go. So then they pull all that stuff to the base. Once they get there, everybody on the base stand in a row, and we offload container by container by container, which is a devious task. Something that is not so nice there is that you are usually 8 teams there, and the aviation team is obviously one of the 8 teams. We have to, let's say every 2 weeks, you get a you are being forced to scrub the toilets and clean the showers. It's not so nice place because some people don't know how to use a toilet, don't know how to use a shower. And then of course there's times that we can that we have to wash the dishes, help with cleaning up the kitchen. You also get a chance, and then sweeping out the floors and all the stuff that has been dropped. So that part is not such a nice part. Another part which is actually nice, even though it's there's a lot of ice, there's no water there. So you have to melt all the water that you're using, either for the kitchen or the toilets or the showers. Interesting fact, there's a thing that says you can only shower 2 minutes every second day. And some people just cannot check 2 minutes. They go for 20, that type of thing. Couldn't care less about the other guys. And then there's, of course, people that think because it's so cold, you don't have to shower. And then you start reeking them. So it's both sides of the coin. So you go to a place where they call a smelly. There's lots of ice. Of course, this place, this smelly is buried in the snow. So you have to, there's some front-end loaders that pushes snow towards that smelly. And then again, all the teams get a chance, like the aviation team. We usually make fun of the day. You have to fill up the smelly, which is quite a task. It takes you around about an hour to an hour and a half to fill up the smelly, so that they melt that ice and they pump it up to the base for water. No water, no shower, no toilet, that type of thing. So it's quite important that everybody should just adhere to the rules. But as you know, people are strange. Some people are more strange than others. The food on the base is usually not as good as the food on the ship, because the food on the ship is always fresh. As we speak, they loaded the last food on the ship yesterday. And we got notice early tonight that we have to be on the ship by between 11 and 12. That's our slot to get both aircraft on the ship. So the food on the ship, excellent. Really, it's flipping amazing. You cannot eat. You can eat as much as you want, and there's always more food. There's fresh fruits, milk, juices, coffee, tea, whatever you want to do. There is on the ship. But on the base, of course, the food has been lying there for at least 12 months before you get there, being frozen. And then the food is definitely not as good as on a ship. Although they take some chefs with, but you can only do what you can do with food. You can't do any more. And then you have to cater for the guys that don't eat meat and must be halal. Or the nice part of this is actually that every second Saturday we braai. There's a braai room that we can braai, and if you have to take your own alcohol there. If you've got alcohol, you can have a beer or a whiskey or whatever. So that's quite nice. Further than that, the base is quite. It was a very well designed base back in the days. It's built on a rock. I don't know if I send you a picture of that, but I think I did. Let me just quickly check. No, I did not send you a picture of the base. I'll send you after this meeting. I'll send you a few pictures of the base itself, and people can see what it looks like. And just to have an idea, because most people don't know what the base looks like. So I'll send you a picture of the base, and people can have a look. It's built on steel steel frame, so that the wind can go underneath and there's no buildup of snow. Although on the one side, there's always some snow buildup, and then the same drivers that drive the stuff from the shelf to the base are the drivers then that take the bulldozers and they clear the place. They push it there's a side there of about 2,000 feet. They push it over there, and you are warned not to go there because people have fallen off. There are a few deaths that has been reported, and all those guys, these plaques, are all in the library. Say who they were, when they died, why they died, what they died of. There's a small, every time that we go down, there's a doctor. The doctor is staying there for a year, so it's a year doctor. It goes onto the ship, and then the old doctor come back, and the old team come back, and then the new doctor and the new team stays there. And I've made use of that doctor once or twice in the past, and it's very well qualified doctors. And they can help you. There's also a small sort of a dentist place, but it's the doctor has to do the dentistry. If you break your tooth or one fell out or whatever, they can help you, all depending on how severe it is. but of course they can give you pain meds for that. There's a radio station on the base which are in contact with the helicopters as we fly in and out. Like the old SAAF, 15 minutes ops, normal type of thing. Also, we are also followed by a thing called Spider Track, which the people in Joburg are following us. So we tell them we're going to fly in half an hour. So they start tracking us and giving us feedback on the ship of where the helicopters are, ops normal, or if there's any deviation, or if they turn around because of bad weather, we are the first to know that. We always take 2 helicopters. The one goes there and the other one's on standby on the ship if anything happens. So that's very important that both stay serviceable throughout the trip. We do take a certain amount of space of things that might go wrong. Obviously, you can't take a whole helicopter, but we take as much as we can, and that's where experience comes in. That we do take what we think we're going to use. Especially if we are going to do a small 25-hour service and you have to change some filters or O-rings, you always ensure that you have enough there. My job on the ice strip is that we usually do refueling at the base itself from drums. So I ensure that all the drums are still in their time frame, that we can use them, and that there's no ice and water and fungi and all that type of thing. So we do certain tests that we are trained to do, as you know. And then, of course, ensuring that the helicopter is good. Always an engineer that flies with. There's a toolbox in the boot of the helicopter. Should you need to do anything, and a basic spares like a starter motor or a igniter or something like that might give you a starting snack. And most of this experience came from SAAF, as you know. You always had a little kit in your Puma on your Allo, and starting snacks, the worst thing of all. So you take all the components of the starter cycle with, and if anything goes wrong, you can sort it out. If not, obviously you can stay over, and if you don't have that spare there, you can request the other helicopter to come to you and bring you that spare. The nice thing about it is that when the other helicopter comes, the other engineer comes with them, so you've got a hand to help you. And to help you make think, The ice is, as far as I'm concerned, the most dangerous place to fly for me, because sometimes you fly into a white piece of paper. There's no horizon. You've got no idea if you're upside down, for that matter. So instrument flying, you have to have that, and you have to have a calm hand, an experienced hand. Luckily, the pilots that we have are all guys that has been there, that knows the dangers of it, and the engineers too. Me and the other guys we've been there at least 4 or 5 times, so you know what to expect. You know about the dangers, so you try and prepare yourself as well as you can. When we fly there, we also have an emergency survival kit in the back of the aircraft, which consists of hot clothes and paraffin, or not paraffin, stoves, better jackets, better boots, food, water hopefully we can have water if it's not frozen, but we have the ability to melt the ice for water. And interesting enough, a few years ago, myself and 2 pilots were caught in a storm that was not predicted. So we had to do a precaution landing, which was quite nerve-wracking, because you don't know how long that thing is going to be. Because you can put on all the clothes you want, in minus 45 degrees, you're going to die of the cold. That's just the fact of it. Luckily, it only lasted 4 hours. There was a small window on the base. They called us. They say you must come within the next 15 minutes. What most people don't know, especially people from South Africa in aviation, is that it is so amazingly cold there that when you start your helicopter, you have to idle for at least 15 minutes to get your oil in your gearboxes and your engine to heat up a little bit, so that when you open the throttles, you don't burst pipes. That is a big possibility. So when they say to us, there's going to be an opening for 15 minutes at the base, we had to take a bit of a chance and open up a bit earlier. Pressure was running high, temperature was low, but by the grace of God, we made it. And in hindsight, it was quite fun, but while you are there, it's not so much fun. It's like when we're in a SAAF, when you're involved in a war type of thing, it is nerve-wracking, but you also sort of your senses are heightened, But afterwards, you think, wow, man, that could have gone so wrong, you know. And some of our colleagues lost their lives in the war, as you know. So hopefully that will not happen in the South Pole. But people has died. I know about a squirrel that landed next to a big crack in the ice, and the pilot didn't see it. Stepped out, fell in the crack, and he died. He was a Canadian guy, and he died. And there was nobody else to come and rescue him because there were only one helicopter. So they had to make plans to get another helicopter pilot to go to the helicopter and see if they can get that oak out with a long line. What else can I tell you about the ship, Fossie? Ship is an amazing ship. It's 139 meters long, it's 28 meters wide. It is an amazing ship. There's two recreational areas which both have a bar if it's not a dry trip. We have a nice mess, but you can only take around about 50 people. So all the numbers of the one side of the ship goes first, and half an hour later the other side goes. Food excellent. Really, you can't complain about the food. Small little gym. There's a laundry with 3 washing machines and 3 drying machines. Everything works on the ship, and that's nice. It's clean. We've got a big auditorium there where sometimes if there's rugby, we can stream rugby if the internet is good enough. There's also you can go onto trips into the engine room of the ship, which is flipping amazing. I will see if I can get some footage of that as well, and we can show it on another show. The bridge is very impressive. The ship has got 3 thrusters, so it can literally spin around its own axis, and that helps very much. Yeah, that helps very much when we do cargo slinging, because you always wanted to take off and land into wind, as you know, and that helps. If the wind is blowing at 20 or 30 knots, it's amazing what that helps with your ability to lift heavy weights. I think she can run about 16 or 17 knots when the sea state allows it. But further than that, on the 4th floor, there's a big door. If I say big, I would say 5 meters by 5 meters, which opens up hydraulically, and then they can take some sea samples from that place. There's a beam that goes out with a crane, and then they put some stuff in the water at certain levels. The scientists. So it's quite interesting. They've got a few scientific workstations there. They've got freezers to freeze all the samples that they take out of from the ice back to South Africa. There's a whole contingent of geologists that goes to the South Pole, take some rocks, and then they come to the university and they do the doctorates and I don't know what, PhDs and all that on all those rocks. Yeah, it's amazing. Sometimes the sea is rough and not nice. People fall out of their beds. And sometimes it is as smooth, Fossey, you won't believe it. It looks like a TV screen. It's as smooth. You're not sure where the sea is and where the sky is. It's amazing. It's amazing. So as far as the South Pole is concerned, I think it's a beautiful place. It's really a beautiful, beautiful place. And if you haven't seen it, pictures doesn't do it. But what actually is, to me, is that it's the most dangerous place I've ever worked. So as far as that's ice, that's what I can tell you.
Philip, I can well believe that place is, as you say, when it gets to minus 45, you are going to die. You mentioned something about IF ratings. Are you, as a flight engineer, also IF qualified or rated? Because surely,
No.
no.
No, you don't need to be, but you've got some DF, and you know
Yes.
how
Yeah.
radio alt work and how AH works
Yes.
and how DI works. So yeah, definitely. And every now and then I would ask the pilots, give me the height above the ice.
Yes.
Because when you look down, it can be 3 meters or 300 meters. You cannot see the difference.
Yeah.
So every now and then, every 15 minutes, or every time I get unhappy, I say to the guys, radio alt, and then they will tell me how high we are, so that you just be at ease, you know.
Yeah, you're talking to each other all the time. As
Absolutely. Very important
Yeah.
because fuel and temperatures and all that is
Yes.
very important.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you mentioned so many interesting aspects of just the difference in operation down there. Is the machine powerful enough for the job?
Yes,
You've hinted
absolutely.
at it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely she's a very dependable machine, and everybody that works on PT6s will tell you that it's a very good motor. Obviously it's a man-made thing, so it can break.
Yes.
We never had any problems with them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a modification on them. It's a fuel oil heater. So as soon as the fuel is hot enough, it passes some of the heat to the fuel. So there's no fuel starvation because it can't ice.
Okay.
It's a very nice thing to know about because you constantly, as a technical guy, you would know, you constantly think of things that can go wrong
Mm-hmm.
and you hope it won't go wrong.
Yeah. Well, first things first, after 50, it's called that after 50 because it's got a minus 50 degrees C
Exactly. Yeah.
point. So you must have been close to that at times.
No, definitely you are. But like I said, the fuel is minus 50 degrees proven, and then we obviously heat it up from the tank just to before the fuel filter. It's been heated up so that there's no fuel starvation or fuel clogging with ice.
Philip, this is fantastic. I'm really, really looking forward to. Um, okay, viewers, just to say, as Philip has mentioned a few times here, they're getting on board tomorrow morning. While we're recording here, this is the 16th of April. Philip asked me about my attire. It snowed here this morning. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
16th of April, and tomorrow morning they're setting sail for Marion Island, in the middle of nowhere. I think it's one of the most isolated spots on the globe. So fare thee well, sir, and your crew and everybody else. And we're looking forward to taking this on up again once you get permission to show us some of that footage. Philip, I thank you. I know you're a busy man. Really, really, this has been terrific. We are going to talk to you again and again and again because there's so much more that you can tell us. You just started touching on points there. We'll make a plan to have a longer one in the future and we'll talk again. And thank you very much. Stuur groete aan almal. Is Mr. Charlie Tate going along?
No, Mr. Charlie Tate, according to the DA, is now too old to fly in the South Pole, but he's flying on one of our other contracts, and we talk regularly because he's one of the naughtiest guys that I know, and I know you also know. But he's at home at the moment. I will tell him when this thing comes up so that he can listen to what I've said.
Yeah. Tell Mr. Charlie Tate I send my regards.
I
Thank
will
you very
definitely
much,
do this.
Philip. Thank you for taking the time to come and chat with us. Fascinating, fascinating. It must be some of the most rewarding flying out ever. I do really thank you.
You're welcome.
Mooi ry. Lekker gaan daai kant toe. Stay
Dankie,
well,
Fossie.
Philip. Give
Sê vir
my
almal naby
regards
jy bly groete.
to all the pals there on that side of the globe, for
And
sure.
you too.
Thank you,
Cheers, man.
Philip.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Edited by Fossie. If you'd like to see what he gets up to in his spare time, do please visit his own little YouTube channel, Fossie at Treasure and Treats. Links included below. Your support would be highly appreciated. Help me grow my little channel. Thank you. Dankie. Inkos kakulu. Bye.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and ring the bell to receive notifications.